I'm very tired of being impelled to do videos about Alex Jones. But he's the preeminent person sticking his pajoozy out in the middle of all this debate. This Bilderberg thing, it's a good thing it gets so much exposure because you realize how stupid the whole thing is. Every so often, Alex Jones completely gives himself away. He spaces out his moments of giving himself away. The intervals between them are shortening. Like Y2K. New Year's Eve, 1999. Any of you have any doubt about what I'm saying about Alex Jones or anybody else that claims that he's just a total full of it, you know, total two-faced, on the side of the elites. If you doubt that, just Google Y2K Alex Jones, 1999, December 31st, January 1st, 2000. His broadcast that night. Total bullshit. He tried as hard as he could to start riots. He tried as hard as he could to freak people out to the point of them thinking the world was going to end. And 2 hours of lies. Just making stuff up out of nowhere. If you listen to the details of what he's saying, he's reporting about all these riots in Chechnya and things shutting down because computers are failing. Everything he says, you write it down on a piece of paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. Research it to see if it actually happened. None of it did. That's what you're dealing with. His dispute with Bill Cooper. Now, Bill Cooper was no perfection. There's so many suspicious things about what he did too. Like when he talks about UFOs coming out of the ocean and stuff, it's like, even if that's the truth, it's just amazing that he would do that because, you know, if you can't prove that kind of thing, to say it so matter-of-factly, I just think you're hurting your cause because there's other things to talk about, even if it's the truth, because you can, you know, persuade people to think there's something wrong with you. Or that you're just a disinformation person. I would love to believe that Bill Cooper was a true, you know, patriot that was trying to get through to people as far as waking them up about the corruption of government. But he called out Alex Jones as a total liar, and he used that broadcast from his Y2K contentions that it was just like a War of the Worlds kind of thing with Orson Welles. And he wanted to warn people about Alex Jones. The next year he was dead. He kept going with it. He had a campaign, just a non-stop campaign. Like Alex Jones used Bill Cooper's influence in shortwave and, you know, AM radio was astounding to the powers because he was the first person to gain an alternative crowd. And people were, you know, archiving his broadcasts religiously. And that's why we have those beautiful remnants all over the internet. You know, his broadcasts from 15 years ago are gold. And, you know, they'll just put some video to it and post them online. You should watch them all. Well, Alex Jones was, when they put Alex Jones out there, that was the model. It was like, wow, if that guy can get that kind of audience with the opposition, we got to get that crowd over here and control them. Bill Cooper did predict 9/11. I mean, specifically. He was so shocked by that CNN interview with Osama bin Laden. And his point was, this is the most sought-after man in the world. The FBI can't find him, CIA can't find him. But CNN's camera crew can just waltz into a cave, sit down with the guy? No. Impossible. Unless it was all complete setup. So he hadn't even gone that far with his deductions. He was still thinking in terms of Osama bin Laden being a real terrorist and a real boss of, you know, a dangerous group of people. It didn't occur to him that, you know, he was an actor for the CIA and the whole thing was just a setup and, you know, he'd never committed a crime in his life. You know, he was just part of that oil family and he was playing his part. A dying man, and a guy who knew he had kidney failure, and he knew he was going to die, and, you know, he was devout to the cause, and his family was totally in league with the Bush family with, you know, with oil ownership and the trade, all that. Well, Bill Cooper, a month, I think it was June of 2001, said, expect a major attack that will be blamed on Osama bin Laden sometime in the near future. 3 months later, we know what happened. Alex Jones had his broadcast on July 25th of 2001. I find that very interesting because really the game was not, the gun had not gone off as far as the countdown to 9/11 until the real countdown, until July 24th of 2001 when Larry Silverstein signed the insurance papers guaranteeing him recompense in case of a terrorist attack, specifically planes hitting the buildings. And the amount of money he'd be awarded if that happened. Very specific verbiage. And that was all inked, signed, and finalized on July 24th. The very next day, Alex Jones has this very specific broadcast where he predicts 9/11. And it's just uncanny. I believe that, he's an agent and he was informed, okay, this is what we're doing. You gotta get the crowd riled as soon as possible and get everything going. We gotta test the waters here. So the game was on with him. He still to this day claims that he's the first one to predict 9/11. No, Bill Cooper did that. Bill Cooper was always a thorn in his side. And wasn't long after 9/11, Bill Cooper was ambushed and killed. Probably from an order come down from on high. And then Alex Jones slanders him. Alex Jones lied. He had Bill Cooper on his show one time, in 1998. It was great. Total amicable conversation where he just kissed up to Bill Cooper. They talked nice. And later on, and you can watch this and listen to it. It was one time. You can watch the entire discussion, entire interview, front to back. Later, Alex Jones totally lied, said that he was disruptive, called names, that he cussed, that he was drunk, called him an alcoholic, just all this kind of stuff. Anything you think of, just to, defame him. None of it was true. Alex Jones resorts to lies, and you can catch it. He lies about everything. Like the gun rally in Austin. And I got video of it. He came and stormed in with his bullhorn and disrupted the whole thing. And was on purpose trying to distract anyone from listening to what was going on the steps with the rally with the people that he wouldn't join with them. Otherwise, on his show, he's saying exactly the same thing as the protesters were. But then he's criticizing the protesters. And then he calls them COINTELPRO. What he did was COINTELPRO. So the next day in his broadcast, he lied about everything, even though it's on video for us to see that he's lying. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that shows the power of persuasion. They are so in position, the powers and their agents like Alex Jones, that they're not worried about proof. In fact, they want people to be pissed. The plan is to get people so mad that they'll do something. That's the whole point, Alex Jones. He's an instigator, a provocateur. He wants people to protest, and he gets people to go to Bilderberg and all this kind of stuff just in the hope that one psychotic can pull a gun and do something really crazy and give the government a big fat excuse to declare martial law. Boston, the bombing in Boston, and what they did as a result of trying to find this one person going door to door in all of Boston with the SWAT team, with this morphed, whatever, this hybrid army of cops and the army, whatever that was. We witnessed a whole different branch of the armed forces that nobody's ever seen. These pseudo-tank jeeps going down the street, these soldiers with guns, 7 people per house with their guns drawn, loaded, pointed at the front door of citizens that are watching a football game or something, saying, "Come out now," banging on the door, no explanation, hands up as if they're guilty. That is specifically against all constitutional rights. And they did it for every house on every street in Boston. They made the Constitution obsolete. Well, they already had. And my contention is if the Fourth Amendment is obsolete and the Second and First, then so is the 16th, which means we don't have to pay taxes. If the Constitution of the United States is obsolete, null and void, then nothing in it applies to anything that we are required to do. Everybody hates taxes, right? Well, the only root source of our requirement to pay taxes is the Constitution. And if it doesn't matter anymore, none of us have to pay a damn thing. We're not Americans anymore. We don't have a country anymore. This is just us against them. They're just a bunch of people with guns and money. Not even money. It's phony money. Who knows what money is anymore? But still, all this kind of stuff is just, they're gearing up. What made me want to do this video is this Bilderberg recently, Alex Jones completely outed himself again. He was on a British television show, and just like when Piers Morgan interviewed him on CNN, he just goes postal. Looks like a psycho on purpose. Now, if he really cared about his cause, he would be very careful about how he looked to viewers. There's people watching that in Britain and all over the place that had never seen him before, and this is their introduction to him. The idea is to make people that are seeking the truth look like psychos. He's screaming and just interrupting everybody, and the British host of the show was like, "You're the worst person I've ever interviewed." He said that right before he cut him off. I believe that. And this is a veteran of doing interviews on television. To say you're the worst interview I've ever had, the supposed leader of the truth movement against the elites. I mean, it's bad enough when Alex Jones calls the Zionists globalists. There's no globalist. There's no Illuminati. There's no Zionists. The evil Jewish leaders. The Jewish leaders. It's a racist thing. And to complain about that is not racism. It's not anti-Semitism. What they do to us is racism. Specific racism. There's no, it's no coincidence that the White House Chief of Staff is always Jewish. Half the Supreme Court judges are Jewish. All broadcast networks are owned by Jews. All printing houses, publishing houses are owned by Jews. The prominent ones. AP, Reuters, Jews. Everything. The Federal Reserve. The State Department. Everything. The IRS. The chairman, the commissioner of the IRS, Jewish. And the sports teams. The hockey league. The football league. The basketball, baseball. All Jews. You think that's a coincidence? They own everything. Everything's manipulated by them. And Alex Jones is supposedly going after corruption, okay? It's one thing he never says. You know why he doesn't say it? Because he worked for them. He says globalist, he means Zionist. When you say Jews, you can't say, it's not Jews. I mean, hell, there's not even the letter J in Hebrew. It is more like that. When they say Israel, they say Yisrael, Yisrael. People are so ignorant, they just don't know. And the Jews, they laugh at that. They love the ignorance of everybody. They call everybody else the Goyim. And, I know. I'm part Jewish. I understand how they think. And I know why all this is done. They hate everybody. They just hate everybody. And it all comes from a deep down sense of loyalty. They're the most loyal race on earth to each other. Even if they don't believe in the religion, they're loyal to each other in the cause. They're a small group of people. 2% of the population of the United States. Who knows what they are percentage-wise of the world? Very small. And they govern everything. The reason they're hitting Afghanistan and those countries so hard is because those the last bastions on earth that don't have a really ingrained central banking system that's run by Jews. But it's happening. All those contractors in there. I mean, just the corruption and the lies and it's all bullshit. The reasons for them being over there, nobody protests it. There's no reason for us to be in Afghanistan or Iraq. It's obvious. They're stealing those countries' resources. Those countries' resources have so many main elements that go into industry, and they're just stealing it. So they don't have to pay for it. The raw materials. For pharmaceuticals and making technological equipment. The copper, oh my God, the copper on the border between Afghanistan, China, and Pakistan. That's where major copper comes from. Probably gold too. And but the poppy plants, certain things grow best in certain parts of the world, like marijuana grows best in Mexico. The poppies for heroin and the pharmaceutical